Jake.
I'm Tom.
And we are VIMTV, Velocities in Music, a couple of guys who just review music for fun because they can. Really, that's all there is to it.
Yep.
Because we can. Oh, and you guys watch us from time to time and request albums like Gold Bear's Dalliance. That it was a request from a couple people out there that had a like on our YouTube channel. So thank you for participating in the conversation on our YouTube comments and requesting albums for us to review, because it really makes previewing all like the 20 releases that there are every Tuesday a lot easier when you guys are requesting and kind of filtering down what we should be listening to for us. It makes it more fun for us too, because we know what you guys are into and want to see us review. Gold Bear's Dalliance. This is the second album from this Georgia-based twee punk band.
What? That's a thing now?
Twee punk is a genre, Tom.
Why you keep like telling me about these genres? First it was PBR&B.
PBR&B is the best genre.
Now it's twee punk.
Man, I need a PBR now.
How many different things can we call?
You think there'll be a twee R&B someday?
You could just make something up someday, and I would probably believe it.
Believe it or not, I get these genres from different review sites and Wikipedia. So like these are terms that people are actually throwing around. Those are Those of you who are new to this debate. Tom and I absolutely hate subgenres. We just putting music in boxes is just something that is kind of a necessary evil at times. It's just something we just try to resist, because we're looking for experimental, progressive things, and really bands who are willing to show the initiative to push music forward and be original instead of just rehashing old sounds or just being completely generic. And fortunately, I think Gold Bears are trying to do that. They're taking a lot, especially on Dalliance, they're taking a lot of this this noisy kind of indie punk vibe that's been like noise punk genre that's been really popular in the past few years, and they're adding a lot of really kind of pop elements to it, like almost like freelance wails.
Very melodic.
Yep. Very melodic. A lot of kind of like cutesy little like bells that they're playing and stuff like that, and a combination of male and female vocals, which always adds a little bit more of a poppy sound, I think. Unless the female vocals are really just raspy and crazy, like some of the artists we've reviewed in recent months. Now, I will say that the strength of Dalliance, just to drive straight into this, Tom, for me was how they executed that blend between the noise and the punk and the pop that they're putting behind the sound. And really, I felt like where Dalliance succeeds is on the tracks that they really found that balance and hit the sweet spot, which they did not always do. No,
they didn't quite always do that. Sometimes it feels a little off balance, but I think that they typically on this album are able to blend those elements pretty well. And to me, this ends up coming off, you mentioned the genre. I won't get into that, but, to me, I mean, it's a very kind of fuzzy, lo-fi, just indie rock sound. Kind of reminded me of some Elephant Six projects, Neutral Milk Hotel even, a bit of that. Yeah, for sure. A lot of stuff that's coming out in the indie scene right now. Now, this is a short album, so they're really trying to pack a lot into that short amount of time. And especially on the front half, they do a great job of stringing things together. I think that while the sound is consistent and not all over the place, the quality is there too. Things flow, but they still feel like separate ideas enough for the songs to have their own entity. And I will just come out and say that is proven by the fact that you and I picked the same 3 tracks as track
usually pitch. A warning sign.
Yes, which happens to be tracks 2, 3, and 4. Bam, bam, bam. Chest, Death with Drums, and I Hope They're Right is a great 3-song attack of just good quality songwriting.
Good quality songwriting, and not only that, but Gold Bears had the foresight to string the songs together and make them kind of flow into one another. Especially like going from Death with Drums, which is awesome, first of all, awesome song title.
Yeah.
Kudos on the awesome song title. It has like a lot of catchy guitar keys, and they do a good job of just having a lot of energy. But then that kind of just noisy, feedbacky distortion just kind of hangs around, and then they start this this song. I hope they're right. That's this acoustic ballad, really, and it's kind of heartfelt, and it's really kind of just this torment of like sounds that you're hearing and this tension that they're creating, and they really pull it off well.
Yeah, they do. Now from there, going to the back half of the album, I feel like it suffers a little bit. There's still some good moments, but in general, that's where it seems to get a little bit off balance. Sometimes I feel like the noise and the fuzz that they put into it just isn't quite warranted, especially on tracks like From Tallahassee to Gainesville.
Washy guitars.
Yeah, oh, very much so. But I don't think it adds much value, and that's the problem, because there's melody in there, and it tends to just kind of cover up the melody. I think that where the melody tends to shine on the few songs that we mentioned, not that we necessarily need the whole album to be like that, but if you've already shown that that's your strength, why would you stray from that so far?
Yeah, you're playing all your cards before.
Exactly.
It's just not strategic.
Yeah,
why would you do
it's
that?
not. Exactly.
Now, one thing I want to highlight, you mentioned From Tallahassee to Gainesville. Personally, I think this is like the weakest track on the record, but it's totally set up to be the highlight song on the album. It's so washy. The guitars and bass really are just this wall of sound, but it's not a sound that even sounds remotely good. The vocals are very light and kind of back in the mix, whereas on the earlier parts of the record, the vocals were kind of where all the melody that got stuck in your head was coming from, and really added that pop vibe. What I was talking about, where they found the perfect balance, it was because of the vocal projection. So on From Tallahassee to Gainesville, that's totally out of whack. It's more into just this ball of noise that just doesn't really even sound good. They don't pull it off as well as bands that we mentioned earlier that are doing this for the past few years. The other thing is that they set up this track with two very short tracks around it. Memo track 5, which is only 1 minute and 36 seconds, and then obviously they didn't care about this one, Punk Song number 15, 1 minute and 3 seconds. They obviously didn't give two shits about that song. Oh, just throw it on the album, a nice transitional track. So they bookended this one song that's probably the weakest track on the album, and it just makes for really, it's only about 6 minutes of music, but it's 6 minutes.
That's 20% of the album.
That's 20% of the album. So therefore, you have this significant weak track before you go into a nice track of Hey Sophie. I wasn't the biggest fan of track 9 For You or track 10 Her Fears, but track 11 Fathers and Daughters I thought ended the album, closed the album out pretty well. All short tracks. Now I will say this, it just made the entire listening experience entirely front heavy, and there was some significant track displacement here. Really distracted from the album listening experience. Now, what these guys are presenting though is original ideas and relatively interesting songwriting. I didn't feel like any of these songs ever beat a formula to death or really reused the same ideas over and over again, except for a couple weaker tracks on the back half of the album. I thought they had a lot of good ideas, and it's just I liked some of them and didn't care for some of the others. And I feel like, since we picked similar tracks, that's probably consistent among a few of the listeners out there anyways.
Sure, yep.
Tom, what are you feeling for a score on this one?
Going to 69 on this one.
I'm just slightly above you, and I think that's because I just like some of the originality of the sound a little bit more. 71 for me. That brings us to 70 overall, pretty significantly below our average of 77 to 78 of the scores that we give, although really they're just made up numbers. I mean, take from this the words that we said, and that we probably wouldn't recommend this to you as an album to pick up from 2014 of the albums that are coming up. However, it was a fun request, and we're glad we got to review Dalliance by Gold Bears. What was your guys' take on Dalliance? Let us know at www.velocitiesmusic.com or youtube.com/velocitiesmusic. As always, follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, and let Tom or myself know if there's any records out there you'd like to see us review on this channel. I'm Jake.
I'm Tom.
And we are VIMTV, moving music critique forward.